Mississippi is breaking new ground for business at a historic pace. Amazon, XAI, Toyota, Milwaukee Tool, and GE Aerospace have all tapped into our deep talent pool, prime geographic location, and welcoming communities. This is bigger than megasites. Mississippi offers a thriving business ecosystem with affordability, greater collaboration with energy partners, and record-breaking speed to market. Looking to expand? Break new ground at Mississippi.org.
Big color, bigger savings. Sherwin-Williams Super Sale is here. Get 40% off paints and stains June 5th through the 11th with prices starting at $30.89. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
And away we go. Episode 1346 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, June 12th, 2026, the day after the Denver Broncos announced having signed head coach Sean Payton to a new 5-year contract through the 2030 season. Something that you may remember is that Sean Payton, after becoming Broncos head coach, said that potential Washington Commanders ownership groups had contacted him about possibly becoming Washington's head coach. He said this on February 10th, 2023 on Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius XM. That is a fascinating what if. What if the sale of the Commanders from Dan Snyder to the Josh Harris Group had been completed sooner than July 2023? Would the Harris Group have fired Ron Rivera and hired Sean Payton? Sean Payton, as Broncos head coach, has a regular season record of 32-19 and has made the playoffs in each of the last 2 seasons. Not bad. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Happy Friday. Next segment, a conversation with Sterling Bennett, San Francisco 49ers insider for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco and host of the 49ers Access podcast. Sterling is going to provide us with comprehensive analysis of fact versus fiction in the saga of San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk, as we deal with this basic but major question of should the Washington Commanders want this guy who so clearly wants them. It's important to know what is true and what is false. A lot has been said, a lot has been written, a lot has been hypothesized. We have had plenty of fake news, and so our next segment, we'll speak with Sterling Bennett for a fact-based, detail-oriented breakdown of the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Sterling knows his stuff. He's going to spend some time with us next segment. Also on the show, discussion of notable comments from Washington center/guard Nick Allegretti during his post-OTA practice press conference this past Tuesday afternoon on wanting to be the team's starting center and the benefits of the new offensive coordinator David Blough. And on the show, we'll talk Baltimore Orioles. They now are 12-8 since bottoming out at 8 games under 500 in MLB's 2026 regular season at 21-29. A 7-5 win over the Seattle Mariners at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday night for a split of a 4-game series. Before we get to feedback, good luck to the D.C. Defenders of the UFL, the United Football League. They face the Louisville Kings at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. this Saturday afternoon at 3 in the 2026 United Bowl, which is the UFL Super Bowl. The Defenders are looking for a second consecutive UFL championship. Also, some college basketball news. George Mason, on Thursday afternoon, announced a 2-year contract extension for head coach Tony Skinn through the 2031-2032 season. First 6-year contract for George Mason head coach in program history. He has done such a good job since being hired as Mason head coach. Tony Skinn was a player on Mason's famous 2005-2006 Final Four team, was an assistant coach for Maryland for the 2022-2023 season, was named Mason head coach on March 30th, 2023. He became Mason's head coach off Kim English leaving his job as Mason head coach to become Providence's head coach, succeeding Ed Cooley, who had become Georgetown's head coach. Skinn was named the A-10 Coach of the Year for the 2024-2025 regular season. Mason, on March 27th, 2025, announced a contract extension for Skinn through the 2029-2030 season, and now he has another contract extension, 2 contract extensions in less than 15 months. That's pretty good. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. And in our quest for 2,000 ratings of the podcast, if you want Apple Podcasts, give the podcast a 5-star rating. On the podcast, we'll read whatever you write in writing a review of the podcast, but the review can include you saying something about sports. You don't just have to write about the podcast. Feedback to our conversation on Thursday's show, episode 1345, regarding head coach Dan Quinn during his pre-OTA practice press conference this past Tuesday morning, saying of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp, quote, "I do fully expect this to be our most competitive camp that we've had going into year 3, end quote. And I wondered if that was a tacit admission that his 2025 training camp was not challenging enough for his players, as that has been something that has come up as a possible reason for the team going 5-12 last regular season. Injuries are the number one reason, but was camp too soft? From Uncle Lee on X writes, Uncle Lee, the quarterback being under center more will make camp more competitive anyways, I think. Thank you for that, Uncle Lee. From Iceman Bando on X writes Iceman, DQ sharing that he expects the most competitive camp in this year 3 isn't about toughness or the lack thereof in 2025. This refers to the actual personnel. This is the best personnel the team has had, especially on defense, since DQ's arrival. Better players, better competition. Thank you for that, Iceman. I would say that this is the best personnel that the team has had on defense since Dan Quinn was hired as Washington head coach in February 2024. From Just Your Average Fly Guy on X writes, Just Your Average Fly Guy, listening to this now on Apple Podcasts, my guess is if DQ doesn't lead his team to the playoffs, his tenure as HC in DC will be over. So why wouldn't he try to have an uber competitive training camp? His job depends on playoffs or bust, in my opinion. Thank you for that. Just Your Average Fly Guy. I don't know if Dan Quinn's job security comes down to playoffs or bust, but I do think that he's on the hot seat of how bad last season went and off this coaching staff revamping this offseason. Remember, a big selling point on the team hiring Quinn was this great coaching staff that he supposedly put together. Well, that coaching staff got revamped just 2 seasons into his tenure, including the defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. being demoted before the end of the second season, and the offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury being ported with basically the second season was over. Not a good look for Dan Quinn, but let's see what happens this coming season. I want Dan Quinn to succeed. I'm rooting for him. Hey, if you would like to succeed, if you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast, which just recently was the number 56 podcast in the country on Apple Podcasts in the U.S. football category. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. We'd love to have you on board. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is thealgaldipodcast@yahoo.com.
Quick question for parents. When was your child's last eye exam? Myopia, or nearsightedness, is becoming more common in kids, and it's not just about needing stronger glasses. If myopia continues to progress untreated, it may increase the risk of more serious vision complications later in life. The good news? An eye doctor can help identify myopia early and recommend options designed to help manage it over time. One of those options is Essilor Stellest lenses. Stellest lenses are designed specifically for children and are part of an approach to myopia management that corrects their vision while supporting eye health as their eyes continue to grow. They look like regular eyeglasses, but they're purpose-built for young wearers. Every child's vision is different, which is why starting with a professional eye exam matters. If you have concerns or even just questions, your eye doctor can guide you through what solution is best for your child. Clear vision today can help support your child's future, and it all starts with an eye exam. Visit Essilor.com to learn more about Stellest lenses and to find an Essilor expert eye care professional near you. That's ESSILOR.com.
Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 $8 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Will this coming weekend be as last weekend was regarding San Francisco 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk expressing his desire to join the Washington Commanders? Aiyuk last Saturday morning posted an Instagram story in which he in 2 photos was wearing a Washington Commanders hat. Aiyuk last Sunday morning on Instagram posted a 90-second video in which he seemingly spoke of the Niners not wanting to release him as being like a kid who has misbehaved, quote, running from the belt, end quote. And he pretty clearly told the Niners to stop acting like, quote, a female dog, end quote, and pretty clearly told the Niners to stop acting like, quote, a little cat, end quote. And then Aiyuk this past Tuesday night gave us another Instagram video. He in that video pretty clearly called the Niners, quote, stupid, end quote, and quote, dumb, end quote, for paying him millions of dollars.
And another thing, you want to know why they really mad though? They mad because they stupid. They dumb.
Yeah, there you go. Now, Brandon Aiyuk in that video did appear to get some facts wrong. He said that the Niners voided guaranteed money for the 2027 season. The Niners voided money for the 2026 season. Also, he said that he'll be on a new team in 2027. He's going to be on a new team, possibly / likely our team, the Washington Commanders, in 2026. The question for us as Washington fans is, should our team want this guy? My trust has been in the team knowing what's best given its many connections to Aiyuk. There is the Jaden Daniels connection. Washington quarterback Jaden Daniels was Arizona State's QB1 for the 2019 through 2021 seasons. Brandon Aiyuk was a receiver for Arizona State for the 2018 and 2019 seasons, and Daniels and Aiyuk are good friends. There is the Adam Peters connection. Washington general manager Adam Peters was the Niners vice president of player personnel when they took Aiyuk with the number 25 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft out of Arizona State. There is the Wes Welker connection. Washington offensive assistant Wes Welker was the Niners receivers coach for the 2019 through 2021 seasons. There is the Anthony Lynn connection. Washington running backs coach Anthony Lynn was the Niners assistant head coach / running backs coach from February 2022 to February 2024. I trust that Washington, via Jaden Daniels, Adam Peters, Wes Welker, Anthony Lynn, and others, can know the truth about what has happened between Brandon Aiyuk and the Niners and whether Washington should want this guy. Of course, there is also the mystery with his health. Aiyuk has not played in an NFL game since suffering a torn ACL and torn MCL in his right knee in the Niners' 28-18 home loss to the Kansas City Chiefs on October 20th, 2024. It is a pleasure to welcome to the Al Galdi podcast Sterling Bennett, San Francisco 49ers insider for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco and host of the 49ers Access podcast. You can follow him on X at 49ers_access. Hey, Sterling, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I cannot wait for this Brandon Aiyuk saga to end, hopefully in the near future.
We are all in agreement on that. The Niners, in theory, do not have to do anything with Brandon Aiyuk right now. If there is a deadline for resolution to the saga, the deadline would seem to be Aiyuk reportedly being due a $24.935 million option bonus on September 1st. Do you see the saga going until then, or do you think that we'll get resolution well before then?
That is up entirely to Brandon Aiyuk. The San Francisco 49ers, I think, are wishing Aiyuk never shows his face, never comes to Levi Stadium, doesn't come to practice. Because if he doesn't, then just like last year when he went AWOL, he goes back on the did not report list, meaning they can get back his entire 2027 salary. His roster bonus doesn't prorate. There's no dead cap attached to him. And I think they realize that they can get more money back after what they deem as one of their biggest contractual mistakes under this regime. That said, if Aiyuk comes to the building tomorrow, the whole charade's over. So it's all up to Brandon Aiyuk as to when he wants this thing to end.
Brandon Aiyuk is on the reserve/left squad list. If/when he reports back to work for the Niners, he comes off that list. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. And then it would force San Francisco's hand to then either release him, try to trade him, which seems entirely unlikely at this point in time, but it does force their hand financially to finally make a decision on his future.
And Brandon Aiyuk, while on the reserve/left squad list, is not getting paid by the Niners and is not counting against the salary cap. If/when he reports back to work for the Niners and comes off the list, the money starts being a factor again, right?
Yeah, you start to incorporate his dead cap hit. You start to incorporate his roster bonuses. And right now, they can avoid doing all of that stuff because he hasn't shown up to practice just yet. So when he does so, that's when things get really serious.
The next team gathering for the Niners is their 2026 training camp. If Brandon Aiyuk is still on the team but doesn't report to camp, then what?
The San Francisco 49ers have no incentive to even discuss, move, think about doing anything with Brandon Aiyuk until he shows up. I think they hope he does exactly what he's done the last 8 months. You can have every single social media rant you want. You can speed past our stadium every single day if you want to. If you do not come to work, we have no incentive to do anything with you because they are set to gain more back by him not coming to work than if he does. They prefer he not show up at all because they get all of his 2027 salary back. And if he does show up, well, then they have to cut him, and then they have to face a dead cap hit over the next 2 seasons, which they don't want to take at all.
The conspiracy theory, you're already laughing, the conspiracy theory that the reason that Niners head coach and former Washington Redskins offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan canceled the Niners 3-day mandatory minicamp this offseason is the Brandon Aiyuk situation and not the reason that was given a reward for Shanahan's players' great attendance and work during the team's offseason program. To that conspiracy theory, you say what?
One of the most absurd things I've heard in a while. Having been in that room with Kyle Shanahan, been in the press conferences and watched him coach this team for nearly a decade, I can tell you wholeheartedly that the last thing on his mind when it comes to practicing and canceling practice is Brandon Aiyuk. This team has already signed his replacement. They drafted his replacement at pick 33 overall in this past year's draft. They have moved on mentally from Brandon Aiyuk. This is strictly a money move. But when it comes to Shanahan himself, who will openly tell you he does not like taking part in negotiations. All he cares about is football. For him to cancel that does coincide with FIFA World Cup coming into Levi Stadium and taking over what is shockingly one of the smaller venues for practice in the NFL. I've been there. That facility can barely hold a 90-man roster, let alone joint practices. So, no, this is not Brandon Aiyuk related. Shanahan, I think, does not care about Brandon Aiyuk anymore. Really, I think it just said, I don't want to deal with the back and forth of trying to find parking and trying to find space for my guys when the FIFA is almost overhauling the entire facility for the next few weeks.
And by the way, another former Redskins offensive coordinator, Los Angeles Rams head coach Sean McVay, he on Thursday told his players that he has canceled their 3-day mandatory minicamp for this offseason. All right, where did things go wrong between Brandon Aiyuk and the Niners?
It's a good question because I don't think there is an exact pinpoint as to this was where things took a turn for the worse. Shanahan is notoriously hard on wide receivers. He played that position in college at Texas. He is so particular in how he wants that position to be run, whether it's Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall. I'm sure Mike Evans will find out sooner or later. Dejon Stribling will find out sooner or later. If you do not practice, run routes, and carry yourself the way Shanahan believes you should, that's when he takes things and you become what has now been known as placed in Shanahan's doghouse. And every young wide receiver has found themselves in there. Dante Pettis, Deebo, Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins, who was healthy all last year, was not getting snaps over Malik Turner in a playoff game. That doesn't make sense unless you talk about Shanahan's doghouse. So Aiyuk had a stint in the doghouse in 2021, got out of it and flourished in 2022 and 2023, setting up for a massive extension in the summer of 2024. But I don't know if things ever took a turn for the worse when it came to Kyle Shanahan. I firmly believe this is a front office-led issue because Aiyuk's on podcasts that summer talking with Jaden Daniels of wanting to play with him, right? He's on social media talking about, yeah, I'll be a San Francisco 49er, but I don't mind being a Washington Commander or a Pittsburgh Steeler. And Lynch and Shanahan have done such a great job of kind of putting the past behind them. They understand how these things work. Deebo Samuel followed the team during his contract negotiations. He held out for a long time. They've been there. They've done this over and over again with their star players. But I think they felt burned by what Aiyuk did. And it's primarily San Francisco's fault for where things have gotten, right? In that year's draft, 2024 draft, they had the 31st overall draft pick. They were going to choose between getting rid of Deebo or Brandon Aiyuk, and they didn't get rid of either one of those players. And they sat on their hands. They waited. The receiver market went nuts. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid that year. DJ Moore got paid that year. And with that, Aiyuk's asking price went higher and higher and higher, rightfully so. Then they got to $30 million. And they were going to trade him. The reports out there of Mike Silver saying that they were actively on the phone with the Pittsburgh Steelers, ready to say yes to a contract. Aiyuk talks to Kyle Shanahan, says, okay, I'll sign the deal. He runs up to John Lynch's office and says, don't trade Aiyuk away. He'll sign. He signs the contract, and then right then and there, everything fell apart. I think they believed, like they've done in previous negotiations, they can put all the antics behind them. Aiyuk, unfortunately, didn't do that. Came out the next week, wore the wrong shorts to practice. Shanahan reams him on the field, only for Aiyuk to have the right color of shorts under the outside shorts he had on. So what's the point? Just follow the rules, right? And so I think that carried over throughout the entire season. He didn't play well in the first 7 games of the year. Didn't have a training camp because of the hold-in. Then he gets hurt. Then in that awkward period, we have no idea what transpired. The reports have been he just stopped showing up. Okay, well, did he not show up for a rehab assignment? Did he not come to the facility for whatever? Because he was there during preseason. He's on the field, on video at Allegiant Stadium getting warm-ups in. What happened in between that? We have no idea, but it kind of sounds like it all came down to Aiyuk when AWOL didn't show up. They took his guarantees away. And then at that point in time, he said, why would I come to practice? I had no guaranteed money. I'm not going to cost myself anything else, and we'll go from there. And now here we are, 8 months later, 2 years later, sitting back saying what could have been a Brandon Aiyuk in a San Francisco 49ers uniform.
Brandon Aiyuk going AWOL is so wild when you consider what preceded that. It was 2 off seasons ago, the 2024 offseason, that Aiyuk and the Niners had that prolonged contract extension saga during which he openly lobbied to play with his good buddy Jaden Daniels. So we, on July 16th, 2024, had reports that Aiyuk had requested to be traded by the Niners, but the Niners on August 29th, 2024, announced having signed Aiyuk to a 4-year contract extension through the 2028 season. So he got his money. Then he, in October 2024, suffered the torn ACL and torn MCL in his right knee. And then he went AWOL, to where Kyle Shanahan this past November confirmed that the Niners had voided the 2026 guaranteed money in Aiyuk's contract. And that money was believed to be between $20 million and $30 million. Aiyuk punting on tens of millions of dollars for which he fought so hard. What is that?
I think right there is where a lot of people's confusion come from, right? So Aiyuk had declined to get traded to the New England Patriots, the Cleveland Browns, and initially didn't want to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He declined 3 trades to actively get out of San Francisco. The Commanders weren't involved in that at all throughout the entire process. And then he signed the contract, and I think we all believed it's behind us, or at least the team believed that. And then for a young player who was 27, 28 years old to come out there and sign the contract of a lifetime and then throw it away in the span of a few months is just baffling for a lot of people. His receiver coach, TJ Hushmanzada, was like, I don't understand it at all. Where's this coming from? And I don't want to speculate as the money changed Brandon Aiyuk. I'm not him. I don't know what he's like from a personal standpoint, but there has been a very distinct change from the player we all thought was quiet, came to work, maybe a little, awkward, if you want to call it that, in the best of ways. He just loves football. He wants to play football. He wants to go out there and get 125 receptions, be a 1,000 plus yard receiver, and be one of the greatest of all time. That was what it seemed like Brandon Aiyuk was. But I think you're right. When we first heard the guarantees are taken away, he didn't file a grievance. NFLPA didn't get involved. So obviously you're a guilty party admitting so. That's why it's so confusing. And so now we're here in June of 2026, and he's had so many opportunities to show his face, come to work, and end the charade, and he hasn't done so. So I would ask, what's the end game here? Like, you are in control of the entire situation. What exactly do you want, Brandon Aiyuk? If you want to get cut, you should have come to the facility at the beginning of the new league year. You should have came to OTAs and minicamp, and you didn't do so. So what exactly does BA want in this entire charade?
Much more with Sterling Bennett in moments, but if you have a case, contact Chris Nace, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You can call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The Nace Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients, led by the great Chris Nace, and founded in 1979. The Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. We are getting terrific insight on the Brandon Aiyuk saga as we speak with Sterling Bennett, San Francisco 49ers insider for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco and host of the 49ers Access podcast. To be clear, prior to the 2024 offseason, were there any signs of problems with Aiyuk?
I would say there wasn't any problems to be worried about. There's always small spats between players and coaches of playing time or, coaching style. I think for a lot of people, mainly going back to wide receivers, there is a harder transition from college to the NFL simply because Kyle Shanahan's the head coach. Deebo Samuel had that. They've all had that here in San Francisco, but it's how can you push past that? And Aiyuk pushed past it. So all of the problems that may have been there, whether small, large, they all seem minuscule from at least a fan perspective and those who are in the building. So I would say, the problems were behind them if there were any at all.
There with Brandon Aiyuk certainly seems to be a judgment issue, right? The TikTok video of footage from a Washington Commanders practice in the 2024 offseason making Jaden Daniels look bad. The totally unnecessary forfeiting of tens of billions of dollars. The posting of a YouTube video that has resulted in a warrant being issued for Aiyuk's arrest. We on June 3rd learned that the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office had issued a warrant for the arrest of Aiyuk. This on a misdemeanor charge of exhibition of speeding. And the warrant was in reference to a video that Aiyuk posted on YouTube this past December. There is the theory that Aiyuk is suffering from a mental health issue, including CTE. I am not a doctor. You are not a doctor, but he, with this decision-making, is coming off as someone who may have some serious problems, for which, by the way, I would have sympathy for him.
Well, that's the thing, is because it's so uncharacteristic from the player we come to know from 2020 through 2023 up until the negotiations started. We kind of didn't really know who Brandon Aiyuk was because he was so quiet. Like, he wasn't on social media. He wasn't posting stuff. That was Deebo Samuel. That was the guy who'd be on Twitter complaining about his touches and how he wasn't getting the ball enough. That wasn't Brandon Aiyuk. And we all assumed, wow, Aiyuk surging is a great player. Him and Brock Purdy have great chemistry. They're going to be the next great QB receiver tandem in San Francisco for a long time. And then it seems like in the span of a day, his entire personality changed. Now, he didn't take a hit to the head that got him hurt. It was his knee. So I don't know if CTE is involved in there. Obviously, the NFL's a dangerous sport. These are our modern day gladiators. And, if there is some sort of mental health thing going on, I think everybody, including the San Francisco 49ers, want Brandon Aiyuk to be okay and get the help he needs. But this just kind of seems like a guy that doesn't want to work for John and Kyle and Parag and Jed York and just wants to do anything possible besides showing up to get out of there. This latest video that came out, to me, it read more like he believed by June 1st, which would have been the cut down day, between a post June 1st roster cut or a pre June 1st roster cut for San Francisco, to delegate that money over 1 year or 2 years when it comes to dead cap. I thought it read more like he believed that was going to be the soft deadline. And they blew by it. They said, nope, we're going to call your bluff and believe you're not going to come to work. And they did so. And this felt like him trying to put some pressure on them. I'm going to start talking out now. I'm going to put the Commander's hat on. I'm going to draw negative attention towards myself to make it be bad PR for you. But go back to the speeding past Levi Stadium when he hasn't shown his face for 6 months at the time, going 100 plus miles an hour, when it's like, just slow down, put the right turn signal on and come into work that day, and this whole thing ends, rather than blowing by it, post it on social media, then issuing an apology later saying, you're right, everybody, I'm not going to speed anymore. It's like, why are you doing it in the first place? Like, this turn right. We've all been there. I've been there. Like, just take the right-hand turn, come into John and Kyle's office and said, look, I'm done. Take me off the DNR list, and we'll just call this thing, a spade, and we'll just move on. Like, it's odd. I think everybody wants an answer, and there's probably not one coming, unfortunately.
To what extent did Brandon Aiyuk come close to playing for the Niners last season?
So he never officially practiced with the team. Never had pads on. He never took part in warm-up drills. He never was at OTAs or training camp. He was rehabbing, from our understanding, by himself or with team doctors or with his own doctors and his own people away from the facility. He was reportedly coming in early in the morning before the team would even get there to avoid being seen by the cameras. But there were certain times throughout the training camp period where he'd come out there, kind of do some ghost drills, kind of show face and make it seem like he wasn't too far away from being back. Now, he got hurt, I believe, sometime in October of 2024. So the belief was, with the ACL recovery, that it would take about a year. So I think the assumption we all believed was, okay, sometime in October, November, he'd be back. But they took his guarantees away in July. So it's kind of confusing as to, he was still showing up shortly after the guarantees were revoked. Then all of a sudden was gone, but there was never an inkling of Aiyuk may come back. He may come back. San Francisco kept pushing the window back and back and back, making us all question, okay, like, is he just taking a long time? It was a very serious knee injury. We've all seen the video. We've all seen the pictures. Like, it was a massive reconstruction for him. So, but he was running out there. He was jogging. He looked like he wasn't too far away back in July and August and September. And then we didn't see him post that. So I don't know if he's healthy. Nobody knows outside of the building. Maybe the Commanders do. Maybe Adam Peters does, or Jaden Daniels does. Maybe John and Kyle know. But from a Niner standpoint, we have not seen him at the facility since October or even September of last season.
Which extreme is more likely? That Brandon Aiyuk has at least 1,000 receiving yards in another NFL regular season, or that he never plays in another NFL game again?
I would probably bet on... Well, that's tough. That's really tough because it seems like he'll be a Commander by the beginning of this year. But I will say Brandon Aiyuk will not play in the NFL again if I had to pick between those two. If he's healthy, Ayuk's a darn good wide receiver that I think a lot of us would like to turn back the clock and say what could have been. Like, this team wouldn't have had to go sign Mike Evans. They wouldn't have had to draft Dejon Strickland. They would have had Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk fully healthy and what we believe to be their best receiving group at the time. But as the number 2 option likely in Washington, assumingly so, I don't think he'll even have over 100 targets in a season again, unfortunately for him.
You know what's funny? The Brandon Aiyuk situation, to me, in a lot of ways, is the Trent Williams situation in reverse. Not a perfect comp, but a lot of parallels. And the Washington Redskins in April 2020 traded left tackle Trent Williams to the San Francisco 49ers. He has been outstanding for the Niners. We'll see what happens with Aiyuk.
I mean, honestly, I think San Francisco hopes if Commanders want to give them a third-round draft pick back, they'll do it in a heartbeat, but that is not coming anytime soon, like at all. So
I don't think so, yeah.
No. And if I'm the Commanders, I'd have a hard time, forking over $5 million for a guy you just can't bank on maybe being there for the next 18 weeks of a season.
Sterling Bennett, San Francisco 49ers insider for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco and host of the 49ers Access podcast. Sterling, thanks so much. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much, Alan. Good luck with Brandon Aiyuk in 2026.
Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. More now on the Washington Commanders. I want to discuss a few things that were said by center/guard Nick Allegretti during his post-OTA practice press conference this past Tuesday afternoon. So, Nick Allegretti, Washington this past March 9th announced having signed Allegretti to a contract extension. The Commanders initially signed him when they signed him as an unrestricted free agent in March 2024. Allegretti in the 2024 regular season started all 17 of Washington's games at left guard, and he in the postseason for the 2024 season started all 3 of Washington's games at left guard. Allegretti in the 2025 regular season started 4 games. He was Washington's starting right guard for weeks 1 and 2 with Samuel Cosmi on the reserve/physically unable to perform list, but Allegretti then got benched in favor of Andrew Wiley. Allegretti then was Washington's starting right guard for week 17 and was the team's starting center for week 18 with Tyler Biadasz on the reserve/injured list. Well, now Tyler Biadasz is gone. Washington on March 3rd announced having released Biadasz, and Allegretti is poised to be Washington's starting center. He, during a press conference on March 9th, proclaimed that he would like to be the team's number 1 center. We on Tuesday afternoon had this exchange between Mitch Tisler of Monumental Sports Network and Nick Allegretti.
For you, moving over to seemingly center full-time, we'll say?
Yeah.
How's that been going for you, and kind of what have you been working on? What are you learning as you're going through this kind of the first time game?
Yeah, I mean, center's been my position kind of my whole life. My opportunities have come at guard, so that's where I took advantage of those opportunities. But I love center. I love the mental side of that game. I think probably the biggest challenges so far, working on games when you're starting, on the ball. So getting back to the same level as my guards, and then under center snaps with some wide zone, with some pulling, because I've done it before, but it's going to be a bigger part of that, bulk of that offense. So just getting out in space. From under center, from gun, keeping those snaps accurate. But I couldn't be more excited. Center's what I played since I was in 3rd grade, and that's what I've always wanted, that opportunity to get back to being a full-time center, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Nick Allegretti very clearly wants to be Washington's starting center. He sees himself more as a center than as a guard. Take a listen to this exchange between ABC 7 Sports Director Scott Abraham and Allegretti on Tuesday afternoon.
Nick, obviously this team made a big decision of making a change with Biadasz. They obviously trust you, that you can maybe take a stranglehold of the center position. What does that mean to you that this team has the trust in you that you can hold down that center position?
It means a ton. That's all I could ask for, is the ability to prove myself. proud of myself that I was able to show them the, mental side of the game, the mental abilities that I have, as well as the physical side as well. And I love the leadership side of this game, and I think that's something they know. And at guard, anyone can lead on a team, but I think center, you're just given so many different opportunities to lead, starting from the huddle call every single play. You're given different opportunities a lot more frequently at center, and I really enjoy, besides the mental side, the leadership aspect that centers are able to have.
Well, barring Washington adding a notable center, the starting center job does appear to be Nick Allegretti's to lose, although, as you may recall, head coach Dan Quinn on May 8th, during his press conference at Washington's rookie minicamp, declared a competition at kicker and unsolicited brought up a competition at center. Quote, and so whether we're talking about kicker or center or different spots along the way, we just keep battling for it and we will see it all the way through, end quote. Quinn got asked specifically about kicker, but he unsolicited brought up center. Nick Allegretti certainly seems to have the inside track to be the team's number one center, but the team did take Michigan State center/guard Matt Golban in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft and does have Julian Good-Jones as an option at center. How about adjusting to the new offense with David Blough, now the team's offensive coordinator? We on Tuesday afternoon had this exchange between Mitch Tischler and Nick Allegretti.
Not being at Pat's during camp, I imagine you're working on the mental side a lot more. How comfortable are you with what the offense is asking, and in terms of identifying how much on the same page do you feel like you and Jaden are in terms of how you want to set kind of protections?
Yeah, I mean, getting more and more comfortable with the calls and with what I'm being asked day to day. I think the awesome thing and the challenge that we have is, with this defense, we're getting a ton of different looks. They're showing rotation or blitz, frequently. So it's drawing our eyes to a lot of different places. So we are seeing, besides just the base looks, a majority of the looks that we're going to see from most of the teams. So we get out here and we'll see, if you're playing a basic, 25, 40 front team, you'll see a couple fronts. We're seeing 6, 7, 8 different fronts a day. So that part's been really good. And then got a, awesome rapport with Jaden. Have since I got here, and always treated myself as a center when I was playing guard, so I was in the center quarterback meetings. So good relationship there, and excited to continue to grow that.
All right, well, the new offense with David Blough, now the team's offensive coordinator, will have more under center snaps for QB1 Jaden Daniels. So that has been made very clear. We on Tuesday afternoon had this exchange between Scott Abraham and Nick Allegretti.
I'm curious from your perspective with this new offense, how do you think it's going to open up or benefit the running game, especially with Jaden maybe under center a little bit more?
I think that's going to be huge. Under center is something that it went away for a good chunk of probably the last decade and a half, and it's coming back now. And I think one of the biggest challenges is there's a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball that haven't played against that, and they're starting to learn that and adjust to it, over the years. But seeing 50% under center is not something that a lot of these young guys have ever seen. So being able to, you don't see the ball when you're under center. If Jaden's turning around, you don't know if he's handing it off, fake, rolling out. You don't see that ball for the first second and a half. That's a challenge. You have to pause on your reads, whether you can come downhill, drop. And then just back to the fact that a lot of these defenses are inexperienced in seeing so much consistent under center.
Good point by Nick Allegretti on so many current NFL defensive players not having a lot of experience facing under center offenses, given how offense has been done at the high school, college, and NFL levels for years now. Last NFL season was a renaissance in under center offense. Many of the best offenses last regular season had their quarterbacks operating from under center a lot. The Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, the San Francisco 49ers, the Buffalo Bills, the New England Patriots. So Washington, for the 2025 regular season, had an NFL low 17 under center dropbacks. That was it, 17. The next lowest total was the Kansas City Chiefs, 45. So Washington had less than half of the next lowest total. And Washington, for the 2025 regular season per Pro Football Focus, was number one in the NFL in no huddle rate at 58.2%. The league average per PFF was 9.91%. Washington, with Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator for the 2024 and 2025 seasons, went no huddle quite a bit. The team's no huddle rate now figures to lessen drastically. We, on Tuesday afternoon, had this exchange between Mitch Tischler and Nick Allegretti.
As it seems like you guys are going to huddle up a little bit more, I guess what kind of advantages does that have? And is there any concerns, not the right word, but is there any thought about it giving you a little less time once you get to the line of scrimmage as far as identifying the defensive?
I think in terms of any disadvantage, that's just something that we've been working on over the past few weeks and months, is getting out of the huddle with just a couple, the O-line, just a couple of quick steps. Get yourself to the line, force the defense to get set. So I'm not concerned about that, because a lot of us have done that for plenty of our lives. The advantages are, one, you get to check in with your guys before every drive, which is huge. After a play, you get back to the huddle, and even 2-3 seconds of communication before Jaden gets into the huddle can clear it up in case we run a similar play. You have a similar block later that drive. You know, me and my guard or guard and tackle are now on the same page. Without a huddle, you may not be able to correct that till after the series, and you might have that similar situation pop up 4 or 5 plays later before it's been corrected, and then now you got 2 mistakes where you could have had 1. And I think probably the biggest advantage is, like I said, with all the guys we have coming back, like, we still have that tempo in our pocket, which I think is awesome. So in 2-minute situations, everyone practices that a ton. We have 2 full seasons of that. So I think when, it's end of the game, end of half situations, we're going to be in a really good shape there. But also excited to get back to some, old school huddling football, get a couple of breaths, doesn't hurt. So excited about that.
Yeah, Washington, to me, still should embrace going no huddle. Going no huddle can be really effective, but the Commanders the last 2 seasons were a big-time outlier. Again, Washington, for the 2025 regular season per PFF, was number 1 in the NFL in no huddle rate at 58.2%. The league average per PFF was 9.91%. The expectation is that the no huddle rate is coming down, and maybe by a lot, and hopefully that is for the best. What about the offensive line continuity for Washington? We are potentially looking at all 5 offensive line starters for week 1 of the 2026 regular season being guys who were on the team last season. Left tackle Laramie Tunsil, left guard Chris Paul or Brandon Coleman, center Nick Allegretti, question mark, right guard Sam Cosmi, right tackle Josh Cotterly Jr. We on Tuesday afternoon had this exchange between Scott Abraham and Nick Allegretti.
In keeping the continuity on this offensive line, minus Biotish, everybody's back. What a benefit is that? Explain that everybody's back in their position and you're just going forward together.
I don't think that could really be overstated. It's very rare to have that many guys coming back into the room. Not just the 5 starting guys up front, but everybody that's in the room. I think we have. Foster did come back, but he was here with us last year. Brought the 2 rooks in, who've been awesome. But just the trust that we have in each other, it continues to grow the more you play with each other. And I really can't overstate how important that is to offensive line play, to the point where you get to make less and less double team calls, 3-man calls, because you're on the same page. Everybody knows you go out there and you make a B call or a deuce call. A lot of those D linemen know what that means. So the less that you have to do that, the better you're able to keep the defense on their toes. You're on the same page without really even having to communicate. So huge that we are able to bring so many guys back.
Yes, it is. A lot has been done this offseason to keep this offensive line together. Washington on March 13th announced having signed Laramie Tunsil to a contract extension. Washington on March 9th announced having signed Nick Allegretti to a contract extension. Washington on March 3rd announced having signed tackle/guard Andrew Wiley to a contract extension. And Washington on March 19th announced having re-signed Chris Paul as an unrestricted free agent. Hey, please consider subscribing to this podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Well, the Baltimore Orioles, off their recent 4-game losing streak, now have won 2 consecutive games and now are 12-8 since bottoming out at 8 games under 500 in MLB's 2026 regular season at 21-29. A 7-5 win over the Seattle Mariners at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday night for a split of a 4-game series. The O's now are 33-37. The Mariners now are an American League West best 36-34. The Washington Nationals host the Mariners for a 3-game series this weekend. But good to see the Orioles offense do well in each of the final 2 games of this series. We had the 7-2 win on Wednesday evening, and the O's in this 7-5 win on Thursday night. 7 runs, 7 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 4 singles, 3 walks, 3 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The O's scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 3rd and a run in the bottom of the 5th. The Orioles' dynamic catching duo was back. Adley Rutschman returned from a 3-game absence caused by left hamstring tightness. He is the Orioles' starting DH and number 3 batter, went 2 for 3 with a 2-run double, an RBI single, and a walk. His OPS for this regular season now is up to .848. Samuel Basallo, he off not starting for 3 consecutive games due to a left wrist ailment, was the Orioles starting catcher and number 5 batter. Did go 0 for 4, dropping his OPS for this regular season to .784, but still good to have these guys back. Good to see Pete Alonso continuing to do well. He homered for a 2nd consecutive game. He is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer. He for this regular season now has an OPS of .775 and now has 15 home runs. Colton Cowser, he is the Orioles starting center fielder and number 7 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. He for this regular season now has an OPS of .708. As we have discussed, the O's, for all of their problems, have done well offensively. The O's for this regular season are number 7 in MLB in runs, 331. Number 11 in MLB in team OPS, 723. Tied for number 11 in MLB in home runs, 82. The O's, despite all of their injuries, despite shortstop Gunnar Henderson underperforming, have done well offensively. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 7-5 win over the Mariners at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday night was Kyle Bradish. He was bad for a 2nd consecutive outing off having been good in each of his previous 5 outings. Bradish allowed 5 runs in 4 innings, gave up 7 hits, which were 3 home runs and 4 singles, issued 3 walks, did record 5 strikeouts. He threw 85 pitches, 52 strikes, 33 balls. Hard to know what to make of Bradish in this regular season. Bad start, then good in each of 5 consecutive outings. Now bad in each of the last 2 outings. So the overall numbers, 14 games, all starts, ERA of 4.30, whip of 1.57, but the Orioles relief pitching in this 7-5 win over the Mariners at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Thursday night was very good. 4 Orioles relievers combined for 5 scoreless innings. The best of the bunch was Tyler Wells. He tossed 3 scoreless and hitless innings with 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Rico Garcia tossed 2/3 of a scoreless inning. He in the top of the 8th faced 4 batters and got 2 outs as he gave up back-to-back 2-out singles. Grant Wolfram faced 1 batter and got 1 out, and Andrew Kittredge tossed a scoreless, hitless, and walkless top of the 9th for the save, despite third baseman Blaze Alexander committing a 1-out fielding error. The Orioles relief pitching over the first 3 games of this series was not good. 8 runs, 7 earned in 10 2/3 innings, but the relief pitching in Game 4 came through. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The O's have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Friday night at 7:05, Shane Baz. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:05, Trey Gibson. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35, Trevor Rogers. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Monday's show, episode 1347. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats this weekend have a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners in Nationals Park. The O's this weekend have a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
And another thing, you want to know why they really mad, though? They mad because they stupid. They dumb.